Hey everybody, it's Mark Dolfini, the Landlord Coach. I hope you're having a good evening. I want to go over something really quick. This is going to be kind of a longer video, and there's going to be an even longer form in the members area. But I want to talk to you, if you're watching this and you're not a member, I want to talk to you to understand about, you've heard me say this multiple times, and if this is the first time you're hearing me say it, you're going to hear me say it a lot, that the real estate business isn't really, it's not a thing business, right? It's not a going out buying a house and going and buying a thing, right? The point that I have made, I think I've made this point for those of you who are following me multiple times, you'll hear me saying that the real estate business is a people business through and through. And for many of you who are out there that are saying, well, I'm just not good with people, that's why I want to get into real estate, here's a newsflash for you. You're going to have to deal with people. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to deal with residents directly, and maybe some of you shouldn't because you just don't have the risk tolerance for that, or you just don't have the tolerance for dealing with people, right? Maybe you're just not good with people, and that's okay. That's something that we're going to talk about a little bit. But I want to introduce you to the concept of the process expectations behavior model in terms of how to get the behavior that you want out of the people that you're dealing with. Now you'll find that this is translatable far outside of just dealing with people with rental properties, where even if you're a house flipper, or even if you're just dealing with people at your job, so you still have a job that you're working, even within your home life, this is something that you can deal. So I'm in front of the whiteboard here, and I'm going to try to write this so you can see it. So I may adjust the camera here a little bit. Sorry for the glare, but that's the overhead light, but I'm trying to make sure that you guys can see this. So what I refer to this is as the process expectations behavior model. Okay, so it's PEB. And for those of you who are who've read the initial Time Wealthy Investor, the process expectations model is really kind of what I talked about, but really going to the Time Wealthy Investor 2.0, and I wrote the Time Wealthy Investor 2.0 because there's a lot of people out there who were who saw that I was teaching the classes a little bit differently, and as you guys know, you've heard me refer to the VIP model, right? So it's vision, infrastructure, and process. Okay, well this P here is this P that begins here, so it really kind of runs all together. So let me talk about VIP first, and then we'll go into the process expectations behavior model. So what the VIP model is, it's a business model, and it starts out specifically about the vision piece. Obviously the V is first because it's about vision. Now, the people who get into business for themselves, they often get into business because they have an idea of what they want their life to look like, or usually what they don't want their life to be. Like, they don't want a job, they don't want to have to answer to anybody else, they don't want to have to punch a time clock, right? And that's okay, but it's not enough to drive you, because when you have a list of don'ts, that unfortunately our brains can't tell the difference. Like when you have a list of all the things that you don't want in life, it's like going to the grocery store with a list of all the things that you don't want to buy. So let's say you go to the grocery store with a list of bread, milk, and eggs, and that's all you see, right? You go to the store, you're like, well, I don't need bread, milk, or eggs, and then of course you go, and because of reticular activation, the way our brains work, it's all you're going to see. You're going to see, bro, there's some bread, there's some more milk, there's eggs. Like, what the heck? I came here for not that stuff, and that's the stuff that I'm seeing. So that's why when you're working on your visions, and it's really difficult to do by yourself, but get someone to work with you on your vision, to really ask the questions why. Why do you want to do this? Well, I want more money. Well, why do you want more money? And I know it sounds a little stupid at first, like, well, who doesn't want more money? Well, you might find out it really isn't about money. It might be something about security, or it might be certainty, or it might be significance that you're really looking after, or trying to get after. And that's really what you should be. That's that vision that you should be focusing on, the things that really truly matter. And if it's difficult for you to answer, if you start getting that lump in your throat, that's when you know you're getting close. So that's the stuff that really matters. So the vision piece is really, really important, and the reason that you want vision to be super duper clear, and I'm talking like visions like, well, not like I want a Dodge Challenger, right? Like, okay, that's cool. cool, but when you start talking about stuff that really matters to you, like you want to homeschool your kids, right? Or say you want to do more work with your church, or it doesn't necessarily have to be really good things. I mean, it could be selfish things, like you want to spend 2 months out at the beach, rubbing cocoa butter on your belly. That's fine. And it can be selfish. In fact, it should be a little bit selfish, because it's got to be something, a vision that you're willing to get out of bed at 3 in the morning to go after. And it's got to be something that's going to be that visceral within you, that emotional, that's going to drive you to get this done no matter what. So that vision piece is really, really important. And like I said, the next piece here, the reason why vision is so important is because when we set up our infrastructure for our business, when we set up the infrastructure, like our desks and our chairs, a physical office if you want one, our software, our websites, our things like that, accounting software, property management software, or whatever, or if you're not in the real estate business, or if you're a house flipper, what CRM do you have? What resources do you have? What software are you going to have to make sure you're following up on people, right? Because in the house flipping business, it's about volume. It's making sure that you're following up on all the people you're supposed to follow up with. So it can be any sort of software that builds into your infrastructure. So again, why is vision first? Because when you're setting up your infrastructure, you need to have that in alignment with your vision. And the reason being is because, let's go back to your vision to say, well, if you want to spend 2 months out of the year rubbing cocoa butter on your belly, if you set up an infrastructure that was going to require you to return emails and phone calls in a timely manner, that's really going to suck for you if you have a vision that is where you're going to, sitting on the beach rubbing cocoa butter on your belly. It's not going to just suck for you, it's going to suck for your clients as well. So you really want to have a mind towards your vision first when you're setting up your infrastructure, and then you can move forward to the last piece here, which is the process. Now, a process is really nothing more than the rules upon which you operate. It's the rules, it's the protocols, the procedures, all those things that basically gives you the all the things that you want to do, all the things or how you want to do them, basically. So if you've got, like I said, I'm a military guy, so in the Marines we had SOP, right? Standard Operating Procedure. It's the rules upon which you operate. But you can also put on your website would be part of infrastructure, which would be part of FAQs, right? Your FAQs are frequently asked questions that really help dictate the rules. For example, I'll give you a quick example of a rule upon which you operate. So let's say that you want to charge a late fee for a resident that pays late. How is that going to be applied? And you might say, well, if I get the rent after the 3rd of the month. Okay, does that mean on the 3rd at midnight, so a close of business at 5 o'clock? Does that mean if I go there on the 3rd and pick it up from my P.O. box, and if it's there on the 3rd, they're good, and if it comes there after the 3rd, if it's postmarked after the 3rd, what if you come in, what if the 3rd lands on a weekend? What if the 3rd lands on a Saturday or Sunday, and you come in that Monday and the rent's already there? Are you going to give them the benefit of the doubt that the rent was there on the 3rd, right? It makes maybe good business sense, but you have to make sure you're delineating this stuff and the rules upon which you operate in terms of how that stuff is going to, how you're going to apply the rules. So some of that stuff, it would be dictated better in the lease, but some of that stuff can be dictated also through an FAQ, frequently asked questions piece on your website. So this is the vision infrastructure process portion of the things that we talked about. Again, I talked about this many, many times, and this is what you'll see in the Time Wealthy Investor 2.0. You don't need to read the Time Wealthy Investor, the original one, because I updated the Time Wealthy Investor 2.0 to include both of these. But this is really what the original book focused on, was the process, expectations, behavior model. And that's really the last portion of the book. So that's what we're going to talk about now. So from this portion of the process, now again, if you're thinking about this, I want you to think about this, and an analogy that I've used often is, if you want to think of vision as your map, okay, infrastructure would be the train tracks, and the process would be the train that runs on those infrastructure tracks that all stays in alignment with your vision for the future. So if you think about it that way, that may help you in a more visual way. Now, the process, what I refer to as the process is a train, right? The process is a train that pulls 2 cars. And the cars are expectations and behavior. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, what we're trying to get to is behavior that desirable behavior by our customers, right? And our customers are our tenants. So I refer to them as residents. So if our residents are not giving us the desired behavior, okay, a lot of times what do? Well, we attack the behavior. We say, you didn't pay rent, and you didn't do this, and you didn't do that, and you trashed the house, and you're not mowing the lawn, and right, we're attacking the behavior. And I know it's easy to do that because it's really easy to get emotional in this business, and that's why sometimes people, they really, if they can't control their emotions, you can't possibly expect to try to influence someone if their emotions are out of control because your emotions are out of control, right? Try talking to any parent of a teenager and you'll know what I'm talking about. Because for those of you parents out there, you can't be out of control and try to influence your teenager if your own behavior is out of control, right? So if you look at any of those cops episodes, right, or live PD, you see a lot of time the officers are emotionally in control, and when they come upon a scene where other people are out of control. So they try to control the situation by bringing behavior that is wanted. So what I'm talking about here is the process expectations behavior model. So I'm going to give you the model, and that's where we're going to cut it off because I don't want to get too long in this particular video. But for those of you who are members, what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit further about some personality profiles that goes deeper. It doesn't cover it in the Time Wealthy Investor 2.0, but it does cover it. I am going to cover it here in the paid member section. So once this video is over, go to the paid member section. You'll be able to see that. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example about the process expectations behavior model. So let's talk a little bit about. Let's pretend that you're hiring somebody for a job. Okay, so you're the boss. You're hiring someone for a job. So I've used this analogy before, but I think it really highlights really what you're the behavior that you're trying to get to. So you hire them and you say, okay, great, you're going to start tomorrow. Well, they come in, you see them there, you're wondering, it's 8 o'clock, where's your new hire? And they're standing in the lobby of your building, holding all their personal items. Their car is parked in the customer parking, and they're not at their workstation. And you're like, what are you doing? I don't understand. Why are you not where you're supposed to be? Well, they say, well, I'm just showing up to work. I just thought everybody started here at 8 o'clock. No, you're not clocked in. You're not parked in the right spot. Of course, you're holding all your personal items. That needs to be somewhere else. Well, then you realize it's your fault. You need to convey to them, oh, here's the process. There's a process for clocking in. There's a process for making sure you go through the gate to park in employee parking and make sure your personal items are put, in this locker, right? That's all part of process. So you'd say, okay, let's start again tomorrow. Come back in tomorrow. Well, the next day they come in and they clocked in, but they clocked in at 8 o'clock, and they're not wearing the appropriate clothing that they're supposed to be wearing. They're wearing, say, khakis and a golf shirt, and they're supposed to be in jeans and a t-shirt, for example. Well, now we haven't really conveyed any expectations. So instead of now you taught them the process about clocking in and where to go and those sorts of things, but you never really talked about expectations. Well, the expectation is that they're clocked in no earlier than 7:45, but no later than 7:50, so that gives them time to get to their workstation, to get their equipment up and running, or their computer up and running, or whatever it is. So they are actually supposed to be clocked in no later than 10 minutes prior to their shift. The expectation is that they need to be wearing a certain uniform or whatever it is. So then if you're still getting the undesirable behavior, then you simply go back to process. Look, do you understand that you need to be doing this, clocked in or whatever it is? The expectation is that you're here on this certain time or whatever, or wearing these certain clothing, and then you can start to address their behavior. So let's just bring this into full circle when you're dealing with your residents. So when you're talking about process expectations behavior, generally one of the most notoriously bad behaviors that you get when you're dealing with your residents is that they don't pay rent on time, right? That's one that's fairly typical. So let's, rather than attacking them as the individual, now you can attack, say, okay, well, not attack, but you can say let me address the process. Do you understand that the rent, you can pay the rent through the website, that you can pay it through, we have a Dropbox, or maybe go and deposit it directly into our bank account? Do you understand you have those 3 methods? Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, I didn't realize you could pay it on the website. Okay, yeah. That way, the expectation is that you pay the rent by, say, the 3rd of the month or whatever. If you give them a grace period, or it's due on the 1st and it's late if it's paid after that, and the late fee is, say, $50 every 5 days, it's $50 or something along those lines. and then you finally get the behavior, then you can address the behavior. So when you're paying rent, when you're not paying the rent the way that you're supposed to be, you're not paying it on time, that's giving you the behavior that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? And that could be anything. It's not mowing the grass, it's not taking out the trash, it's not keeping the house clean, whatever that is. Here's the process, this is the expectations, and this is the behavior. The reason why, if you can break it down clinically that way, and you can keep the emotions out of it, because this tends to be a very emotional type business, right? And that's why it ends up going sideways, because people get their emotions involved, they directly attack the behavior, and they say, well, you didn't pay rent on time, well, you didn't fix this thing, you know, I'm still living here without a refrigerator. And whether that's true or whether it isn't, the point is the emotions get involved, and it's not a healthy discussion. So you really need to make sure, if you're going to be addressing the behavior, go back to process expectations first, and then you can address the behavior after that. So what I'm going to talk about in the video in the members section is something that I refer to as UTiCA. I'm just going to highlight it here real fast. So really what UTiCA is a behavioral profile that I came up with, and basically what it is right here in the center. Okay, so really what this is a behavioral profile that helps you, so it's a UTiCA, okay, so it's UT and then the ICA. So really what this is it helps you identify people and how it is that they interact with you and really with the world. So anybody, if you're familiar with the DISC personality profile, it's very similar to that, but it does have some nuances that are different. So if you're looking up here, this is a matrix. So these are the people, they believe in the big picture, right? And then down below here, they are into details. So again, because it's a matrix, you know, the U and the T, so this stands for utilitarian and trusting. Okay, so utilitarian and trusting, they tend to be big picture. They think very big picture. They think about, they can do details, but generally that's where they tend to think best. But they look at the overall scope of things. The C's and the A's, these are comfort individuals, and these are analytical. Okay, so the C and A is comfort and analytical. Don't get hung up on the labels. The labels can mean lots of different things in different vernaculars, and certainly to different people based on education and background and stuff like that. But don't get hung up on the actual label. So if someone says, "Oh, you're a utilitarian," I don't want you getting hung up on that specific label. Okay. Finally, the people on the right-hand side, the trusting and the comfort people, they are into people. Okay? And the opposite of people is objects. So this would be things over here. Okay? Now, how does this relate to, why is there an I that stands in the middle? So the I, and this is where we're going to kind of leave off on this video, and I'm going to pick this back up on the members section. The I is really where you go to neutral, right? That's the interpersonal part of that. So that's where, if you're a trusting person and you're trying to connect and rapport with an analytical person, these two people are diametrically opposed, because a trusting person is into big picture and people, right? And an analytical person is into things and details. So they are diametrically opposed when it comes to the way they interact with people and the world. Okay, just similarly, a utilitarian person is a big picture into things, and a comfort person is into people and details. So that's why it's important for you to really understand that this I section here is a state of neutrality. That's where you go to be neutral to connect with anybody that you generally need to connect with. So that neutral place is really, it's not always easy to get there, but if you can understand what these other sections are, then it's a lot easier for you to connect with other people and rapport with them and have conversations with them, negotiate with them, and really get to the desired behavior that you're trying to get to. All right, that's all I have for now. Thanks for spending the time with me. This is super important because, again, the real estate business is a people business, and if the sooner you can get that figured out, the faster you can get to your vision and the life that you actually want. Thanks for spending the time. This is Mark Dolphin, Landlord Coach, and we'll see you on the inside.